Price, and welcome to my workshop.
I'm just back from the gas station. Got a couple of gallons of gas. It's time to cut the grass, but that's not what we're doing first. We got to get those lattices built for those drawers, and hopefully we can install them this afternoon. Come on inside, let me show you what I got in mind.
Built-in cabinetry for the new room. Part 3, installation.
Well, I've been busy this morning, and I can't say it's all been productive. I had an idea in my mind, and I ran with it right out the door. Unfortunately, I made a mistake in some of the calculations, and that is where we are with this particular prototype. So what have I got here? This is the side to one of my cabinets that's going to slide into the wall cavity, and my drawer hardware is going to mount against these strips down there. The drawers will slide out this way. This right here provides bracing for the back, and of course, as you might imagine, there's a mirrored panel over here. Drawers slide in between. This was great, and I thought I had room, but I neglected to calculate the width or the thickness of the plywood. So I'm a bit short, and I can't get the drawers to squeeze in between. And that's if I didn't have any drawer hardware. So that was pretty much a bust, and that's a shame because this is the configuration that I wanted. So we had to thin it up a little bit. The 2x4s weren't going to work. I had some furring strips, so I decided to use them. I like this corner in the back. It provides a great deal of stiffness, and that was what I was after. So I put this together, and I promise you, it's stiff. It's just not true. There's so much twist in this board that you can't get it to work. And if I took it to the joiner to get the twist out, one end would be so thin, it would be completely useless. So furring strips are furring strips, and they are getting to the point where they're not even useful as furring strips. Don't try to use them for anything else. The third option, and this is the one that we're going with, is an all plywood option with the exception of the 2x4 on the bottom, and that's to match the base plate that is in the pony wall. So what have we got here? I've got the same slats there to mount my drawer hardware on. I've got a corner in the back that's very stiff, and instead of mounting on this 2x4 to the pony wall 2x4, the stud, I'm going to mount these right here. The drawer strips will mount directly to the 2x4. Now I've got plenty of room at this point. As a matter of fact, I've got too much. So what I'm going to do is I will screw these directly, and on the other mirrored panel, when we put it in place, we'll shim those. They'll still get screwed, and they'll be plenty strong, but they will be shimmed in, and that will be okay. So let me put this on the plywood table over here, and I'll show you what these drawers look like when they sit on this particular lattice structure. Take a look at what we have here. I've got the panel on its side. The drawers are on top of it in the position that they're going to be in when the drawer hardware is mounted. There's going to be another one of these panels right here mounted on top. It'll be a mirror image. The drawers slide in and out that way, and this sets into the cavity, just like I said before. Now I've got room on the bottom here and on the top over here for a sheet of 1/4 inch plywood, and I think I'm going to do that. Why? It provides an enormous amount of stiffness, and that kind of stiffness is what I want when I'm mounting drawers. I have also got room in the back for the same type of 1/4 inch plywood, and I will use it there too, again, to provide stiffness. So now that you kind of see how this is laying out, let's go to the upstairs room so you can see how it looks when it's in the wall cavity. We're in the upstairs room, and some of you may remember this room. We did an episode up here installing window casings, and one of them is right over here. This room is pretty much exactly the way we left it, a little cleaner, but almost exactly the way we left it. We have taken out all the beadboard, and we've installed AC, and that's going to be much appreciated. Now, this cavity here, here, and here are going to be where we install our shelves, and they're going to reside in this pocket area back here. This is the side to the cabinet that we were looking at downstairs. We'll put it in like this and get it set up accordingly. And you can see pretty well how this is going to go. Now, we'll get one installed, screw it in place, get the other one installed, shim it, screw it in place, put the plywood on 3 sides and the backs, bottom and top, and it will be as stout as it can be. Mount our drawers, and we're in business. One of the things you'll notice is I am a little shy on the sides here. Well, there is a reason for that. We're going to be mounting a door very similar to this, a Z-braced door. Now, these panels right here, they will mount even with the studs. The Z-bracing mounts interior, so we need that room. That's the idea that I have in mind at the moment, and there's no reason for me to think right now it's not going to work. So, next step, we take this back down to the shop, and we're going to bang out about 5 more of them, and hopefully we'll get them installed this episode.
The prototype may be done, but we have not cut out the strips for the other lattices, so we'll do that now. We're looking at that angle in the back, and it's time to go ahead and mill that up. That is the cornerstone of this lattice work. The brads are probably strong enough, but the glue actually produces a very strong, almost brittle edge, and it's worth putting a little bit on there to stiffen things up even more. Now, I have about 5 or 6 of these to go, so I will use the other ones to help make sure that my angles are in place and square. Getting it lined up is important. Take your time. Once the nail goes in, it's really tough to move it. The second lineup is no different. Take your time. The glue makes the joints slickery, and until you get it secured, it will move on you. Plywood is better than furring strips, but even it can warp a little bit. There are tricks to getting it to go in just right. Now, this is where the brad can secure and take the bow out using the edge of your table. The glue will keep it there forever. I made my corners a little long, and that allows me a good clean edge.
Well, we're getting ready to assemble, and I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. First off, this is the prototype, the one that we took upstairs. It proved the concept, and it was put together pretty quickly. So when I wanted to repeat that overall pattern, I started to make some jigs, and in doing so, I noticed it was out of square, enough to cause a little bit of a problem. We might have circumvented it, but it's not worth the trouble. So we are going to replace this one with a new one, and that's this one here. Actually, this is its mirror. But the jigs are important. The spacers help us make sure that each one of these are lined out appropriately with the other pieces, and that's going to be very important because these drawer slides we're using are finicky. So let me take these down. I'm going to build another one, and let me show you how these spacers work. They will help us achieve both accuracy and speed, both of which are important. This is on the opposite side, but it's important you do this because this will help us place our screw holes that hold it in place. Remember that this board actually ends here, so this line comes down this way. This is where I need to stay.
It may seem like overkill, but I can get a much straighter hole on the drill press than I can by hand. This gives me the best chance of the screw staying inside the plywood and not wandering out to the outside edge.
Knock all the tails off this so it seats really firm against that, and I always like to take a double check and make sure it's square. I had a situation where I had this knot right here. Even though I drilled the holes, the knot was throwing the whole thing out, so I had to redo it. You know, this has been pre-drilled, but that clamp right there, these boards and the plywood, when you put a screw in them, they always move. I mean, always.
There's the first of my jigs for this lattice work. It's simple, but effective.
We've got the top one in place. Now we need to put our spacer right there. And of course, this spacer has the 2 little buttons right here. That's what keeps it proud. Also, This spacer here has the buttons as well. We'll put him in just like that. And then we got our guy right in there. Now what we want to do here, I know it seems like belt and suspenders, but I'm going to put a touch of glue here to help keep this thing stiff over the course of time. It doesn't take a whole lot. A little bit of pressure. And at this point, it's kind of rinse and repeat. So we put him in place just like that. Our next slat goes in here like this. Hold him tight. And our pencil walked on us. Really, that's all you need because that's going to mark the other side. Just a little bit of glue. Hold him in good and tight.
This is the last one for this lattice.
Well, my panels are done. As you can see behind me, they're kind of sprinkled out everywhere. And I've marked them, so when I put them together, I have book match sets. Now it's time to install the drawer hardware, and we're going to use another jig. And this is a very simple one, but it's important because it helps us mark the center line where all these screws go on both drawers and on our cabinet panels. So come over here and let me show you how we're going to do this. We're going to start with cabinet panel first and get one side installed. Well, as you can see, we've got our hardware already installed on two. We're going to use this jig right here. This edge right here rests up against that, and this distance right here is specific to where I want the center line of the hardware. I just make a line right there so that I can see it. Now I have my square over here already indexed for where I want my first hole. So I'll take this and make a mark there. Now, twist bits can wander, so I want to use a punch, and I have to be pretty careful here. I need this to line up just so. That's good. Now, I don't want to use the Vicks bit yet. This first one is done with a twist bit, and I will just punch it through. Now, this is the slide, and I want to hit that hole right there. Subsequent holes are going to be here, here, and here. So I'll line that up. There he is, right there. And it really is as simple as putting a screw in. Now, back here, I know it's a little difficult to see. All we're going to do is move it and line it up to where it needs to be. But the good news is we can use the Vicks bit to help us get it centered. Because if we hold it steady, the Vicks bit will ensure that it's centered in the hole. Once these two are in place, it's not going to move. So now it's time to install this hardware, and that's where it goes right there. I'm using the same jig. It's got this that rides against that. This measure is specific to where I want the center line of my drawers to go. So I'll make a line, and that's what I'm shooting for. Now, just like with the other, I have this indexed specifically to where I want the first hole to go. So I'll make a line there. And because I don't want the bit to wander, I will punch it. And then that will keep my bit where I want it. Okay. Now, the first one is going to go in, but it's not going to go in hard. And you've probably already noticed, or maybe you knew ahead of time, there's a little cam in there that's going to help us adjust. All right, now the first one we don't want real tight. We want it tight enough to help us get this aligned. Now, you can see these guys right here do a real good job with helping you get this aligned. And this back one is just about perfect. So I am going to punch that. Yeah, a little bit less. There we go. That's good. See you move it? All right. That's not quite where I want it. I want it down a little bit more. All right, that's good, and that's tight. Now for this side over here, I want it to come up that way, just a touch. All right, now, that is perfect. So at this point, I'll switch over to a Vicks bit. And I'll come right there and give it a good hard. Put a lot of pressure on it.
Well, you get the point. The cam adjusts the height just right. We follow it up with a Vicks bit with a perfectly centered hole. The screw will do the rest. I'm not going to compete with the air compressor. We're moving on.
Well, off camera, I installed the drawers in one of the racks, and it was a little finicky, and that's one of the reasons I didn't want to show it this round. So here you are. I've got a rack here and a rack here, and the hardware works as advertised. These are full extension, and they come out pretty much even with this right here, which is what we wanted. Now, next steps, I'm going to install the other two sets. So we're going to do that off camera. After that, we're going to look at getting ourselves set up to do the top panel and bottom panel. All the drawers are installed, and I've been cutting some plywood for the back, tops, and the bottom. Between that and getting these screwed into the studs, they'll be rock steady. So at this point, let's get these drawers out of here. We'll number them, and let's take it up to the upstairs room and start looking about installing these. Well, I've got the first two in place, as you can see behind me here, and I've kind of figured out a sequence that works pretty well. So let's get this third one installed. It's really going to be pretty much the same. I'm going to include, where I don't have good shots of this, some shots from the first two. So it's just a matter of getting the first panel in place, and we'll slide him over and get him good and tight. Now, these strips right here, they're going to nail directly against this stud. The other side floats free, and you'll see how that works here in just a minute. Let's get ourselves good and square. Although we will square this up again here in just a minute. It's one of the harder things you'll do, but I like these things square. So I'll give it a little bit of a pull. See what I've got here. That's pretty good. It just takes the one. And after that, we're pretty firm. This actually has to go in first. Otherwise, you'll never get it in, and you can probably start to see why already. Now you can start to see why that would never go in that way unless I did that. Now believe it or not, that's the first step. Now in order to get this to work right, we got to put the drawers in. We got the top drawer in place and the bottom drawer in place. This side right here is stout. This side over here is being driven by the top and bottom drawers, so theoretically that should be fine. Now I have my back panel in place right here. It's floating free. So when I take a staple gun and I secure this in multiple places on both sides, I know that it is secure, and that's the back. So I know I've got that in place. Now it's time to get these guys right here. The bottom one's the hard one, but we'll just take this and move him right there, kind of hold him like that. Take the other wedge, push him down, get him lined up until it's snug. Okay, we want it a little snug because the nail's going to pull it tight. Pull the drawer all the way out. It slides nicely. We'll just give it a little tighter. And we'll do this a couple of times, trying to get an optimum fit. I do want it tight, and I think that will probably do. So these two are set. Let me get my nail gun. Now we'll just pull the drawer out and put the rest in.
The bottom is a good finishing touch, but it's not structural. We'll secure that with some staples.
Just doing a little cleanup work here, trying to get ready for the next stage. Well, this stage is finished, and these drawers are in. They're solid. The motion is great. Very happy with the way this has turned out. You know, this attic space, we would have probably put a whole lot of stuff in there, and there is still room behind here where we will put stuff in. But, you know, you use that once a year, maybe twice, maybe once every 5 years. That stuff accumulates. And this is space that is useful today, and it will be useful every day. So what's next here? These actually do get a top, but that top can't go in until I get a cross member over here, and that cross member is part of the trim package. Now the trim package is going to consist of 3 doors that open up, and they're all going to look like my friend over here. This is an original door. It came from the entry into this room. So this door right here, we will duplicate the Z pattern, and we will also duplicate this planking right here. Now this planking is the same planking that's everywhere in this house. It's historic. It's the same planking that I've used when I cased in my windows, and that's another episode. So all this is on tap. We're headed down to the workshop. We're going to take all these drawers back out again. We're going to give them a coat of finish, but there's something else on the horizon that you need to know about that's going to impact the episodes as they go forward. Come over here, let me show you. The area behind me and where I'm standing is going to be a full bath. That's the only bath upstairs, and it's going to make the house much more livable. So we got a shower stall right here, a toilet over there. The AC is going to move a little bit that way, making room for a vanity, hopefully a double sink, in that corner over there. It's going to be tight in some ways, it's going to be bigger in others. And you know, that's just the way it is. It's the space we have to work with. But what does that mean? We're having a contractor do this, and it's only a month or so before he gets started. And he's given us a bid. Now that bid includes the price for a vanity, and they are some kind of expensive. So we're going to build a bathroom vanity for this room right over there. And we don't know quite what our dimensions are yet because the AC unit hasn't been pushed over. So we're still feeling out the boundaries of this. So future episodes are going to be a little bit chock-a-block. This vanity is going to take priority because I can't put my contractor on hold. And when my contractor's working up here, a lot of the projects that I have going on with our drawers have to be put on hold because it's his space while he's here. So there's a lot going on, and it's going to be a little chaotic. If your life is less chaotic, I think you're blessed. But until then, I hope to see you next time in Roby's workshop.